Nick T, you're up next. Hello.
Yep.
Nick, I was trying to figure out how I wanted to do this. I might just zoom through. This is a PLO hand, is that right?
It is.
Okay.
Yep.
Yeah, I might just kind of zoom through the action just for the visual, just so that we have a reference. So, where was this
Okay.
played out of?
This was in King's Lounge during the WSOP.
Ah, that's right. Kings,
Yep.
which I played at many times in the double board PLO bomb pot game. So, Kings at the WSOP. That's the high limit area at the WSOP if people are unfamiliar. So, what is this, 510? 510 20?
Yeah, 5, 10, 25.
Is this five card or four card?
Four card.
Okay, because I didn't see much four card. It was mostly five card when I was there.
Yeah, they were getting a lot of 5, 10, 25, and 10, 25, 50. I actually saw your name on the list for some games while I was there. I
Yeah.
was hoping to run into you, but didn't see you.
Okay, so Kings 5, 10, 25. How deep are you guys?
Well, that's the crux of the situation. I believe we're 725 effective.
Oh, so you don't think
But
you're that deep? Okay.
exactly.
Yeah. Okay. So what happens here?
So we have a new villain who just sat down. She's kind of a younger, attractive female Asian,
Hmm.
and she's been at the table for about 3 or 4 hands now. And she just played one hand where she, saw a flop, called a flop bet, called a turn bet, folded on the river,
Hmm.
and she had only min bot for 1,000,
Okay.
and I didn't see her reload or anything.
Okay.
So that's the start of the hand.
Hmm.
I'm under the gun
Hmm.
with King of Clubs, King of Hearts, Queen of Hearts, Nine of Spades,
Okay.
and I open to 75.
Okay.
She's middle position and three bets me to 350.
So like a pot.
Yep. Yeah,
Yep.
it's a pot.
Okay.
And then it all folds around to me and I call.
So hero calls. This is where like I'm kind of. It's interesting for me to go up to chasers and play because I'm not by no means a PLO high expert like at all. And this is interesting because like if you think she only has 725 and then she's raising 40% of her stack, I don't know the answer. You're probably more experienced than me about at that stack depth. Like, is this supposed to be a fold? Are you supposed to jam? Are you supposed to call? You chose call. Maybe you can walk through your thought process.
Yeah, I mean, I chose call in this situation just because it's a pretty tight configuration, being that I raced under the gun and then she
Wow.
three bet me from middle position, and I don't have double suited kings. I mean, it's pretty connected. I could go either way. I'll probably get it in sometimes. Sometimes I don't. I just chose to just call in this situation.
All right. So 750. Okay. Again, this is an angle call. So, anyways, go to the flop.
Yeah. So the flop is 10 of clubs, 9 of clubs, 4 of hearts,
Okay.
and I say pot. I'm first to act, and I pot it.
You do not
And
have the king high flush draw, right?
I do not. I have a backdoor flush draw, gut shot, and a pair of nines.
All right. So hero pots. Okay.
Yeah. And at this point, this is where it starts to get towards the angle situation. The dealer doesn't state an amount at all, but I know the pot's around 700 to 800. So I put out 800 in black chips.
Okay.
And the lady immediately throws her stack towards the middle,
Hmm.
and it's all of her chips.
Hmm.
And she doesn't verbalize anything. The dealer doesn't confirm anything. So I take a look at what she throws out, and she's got the chips thrown out there, just one on top of the other,
Right.
and it comes out in a specific order that I remember because I took these notes right after the hand. There was a black chip, three green chips, two more black chips, and another green chip. Which adds up to $400.
Right. And you think she had like half pot size bet, right? I
Yep,
mean, it doesn't matter. Pot, whatever. It's
exactly.
double what she has. Okay. So she throws them all out as a call. Okay.
Exactly.
Hmm.
And so at this point, I say out loud to the dealer and I ask, is she all in for $400?
Hmm.
And as I'm asking that, I'm pulling back four black chips from the middle.
Okay.
And there's no verbal confirmation from the dealer, and she didn't say anything. So I pulled them back again and asked again. I said, it's all in for $400. Again, nobody says anything. And at this point, she asked, do you want to run it once or twice?
Okay.
And I say I prefer once.
Hmm.
And then the dealer, starts to run the board.
Okay.
So the turn is the 8 of hearts,
Hmm.
and then the river is a 5 of spades.
So you brick out. Well,
Yep.
I mean, you don't improve. Are you up against aces?
Yeah. So she
Okay.
has she has ace of diamonds, ace of hearts, jack of spades, 7 of diamonds. So she actually turned the gut shot, seven to jack straight.
Okay. So hero loses.
Yep.
Okay.
And then at this point, the dealer, obviously we tabled our hands. The dealer leans over to count out her chips, and he says it's going to be $900. And immediately I'm really confused because I had asked multiple times, she's all in for $400, and I actively took chips out of the pot, and nobody at the table said anything. The dealer didn't say anything. The villain didn't say anything. And so, it starts a conversation where she's like, no, I said all in. And then somebody else at the table is like, well, I didn't hear you say all in. And the dealer's like, well, it's $900. That's what it is. You guys said all in and ran it twice. And I said, well, I think we need to call the floor because, I verbally confirmed that it was $400. And I think that either she was hiding the $500 chip or she added it on after, after the action was clear what happened.
Because that's interesting. You think it's actually possible that she might have added it on afterwards?
Exactly. Yeah. Because the difference was a single $500 chip. It's not like I just completely miscounted, the number of chips she should put out in front.
Right. So it was kind of like a hidden. Let me give you my take right now before you tell me what the floor, comes over.
Sure.
So we have a situation where the pot bet was $750 going to the flop. You said pot, right?
Yes.
So it doesn't matter that you took the chips back. The bet is pot, and then you guys talked about running it more than once, which usually is like accepted action all in. Then there's no more action. You run the turn out and you run the river out. And then at the end, when she wins, she has 900. But it seems to me, if you're conveying the story correctly, that really the pot bet is the only thing that should stand here because there was no more betting, right? I mean, the dealer's saying that she said all in call. That doesn't sound like that happened, right? You certainly didn't say all in call. So
yeah. There was never a verbalization of the all in. And when I tried to confirm, is she all in for 400 twice, I didn't get a verbal confirmation from either one of them. But I did, withdraw the chips because I only saw $400 in front of her.
Right. So I would say that the bet is $750. Now, some people are saying, Wayne in the live chat says he has to pay $900. How does he have to pay $900 if the bet wasn't $900 and there was no all in and call confirmation, and then the opponent accepted the action, especially discussing running it more than once, and it went check, check, turn, check, check, river because they're all in? How can he possibly owe another 150 here? Again, the way that the caller is conveying the story, I would think it would be a fairly clear-cut decision here from the floor.
Yeah.
And what did the floor say?
So the floor came over, and they got the story from the dealer. They got the story from me, and, she put her input in. And ultimately, they weren't willing to go to the cameras. I had asked, let's go to the cameras and see, because at this point, nobody at the table could confirm that she actually had that $500 chip to start the hand. And I know I certainly didn't see it. So what the floor ultimately ended up ruling was that because I said pot, I owe the $750, but I don't owe the additional $150 for the $900.
Okay, that's what I said, how I would rule it, right?
Yeah.
Okay. What's the issue here?
Well, I'm a bit confused about the floor ruling because I would assume that, they would at least go to the camera to confirm whether or not the $500 chip was added. It's interesting, and then the issue afterwards is actually that the whole table turned against me and is basically saying, it's really shitty that you would try to angle her over this. And then the woman is really angry and she's like, oh, you would only try this against me because I'm a woman and you think I wouldn't say anything. And like, you're a piece of shit for doing this and trying to steal $150 from me. And, the whole time I'm trying to defend myself about like, I verbally confirmed it twice that it was only $400, and I was happy to pay the pot bet because I said the word pot. But, in my opinion, I feel that the floor should have ruled, one way or the other, whether she added the chip or not.
Okay. So what you're basically saying is that you feel like a little like it maybe should only be 400 because that's what you sort of got the confirmation on, because I remember this from the email, but you did say pot before that was confirmed. So if they can't necessarily tell if she snuck a chip onto the table or not, I think that the pot bet has to stand there, but I don't see how you could possibly owe the extra 150 because I remember I think you had told me in the email that you thought it was sort of an in-between wishy-washy decision where it should be 400 or 900, but I actually think the floor, if I'm getting this correct, who said it should be 750, got it right though, because you didn't like if it might have been a little bit different here, Nick, if you, before you did anything going to the flop, you said, how much do you have? She
Hmm.
had 400 in front of her, and then you said pot, and then all of a sudden this 500 comes behind. That's a little bit different, but you came out and said pot without that whole thing of confirming how much she had. But I don't see how you
Sure.
could possibly owe the extra 150. People are saying what happened on the turn of the river. They just ran it out. And the reason why, I try to be pretty diplomatic in these types of things, and if it's a recreational player, I'll try to make good with it. Oh, it's only 150 bucks. But the problem here, though, is that you can be easily free rolled, especially if you're running it twice, right?
Hmm.
Where whether that chip was brought on or she lied about how much she had after you went pot, then you only get 750 if you win, and she's expecting 900 if you lose. That's the problem, right?
Yeah, that was my issue with the whole situation, and everybody, the whole table turned against me after the floor ruling, and everybody was saying, "Well, if you won and you got shipped the $900, you wouldn't have said anything." And I completely disagree because I thought that she only had $400. So if the dealer is shipping me $900 with a 500 chip in it, I would be very questioning about it.
Well, I mean, that's kind of a different issue that didn't. That's
Didn't happen.
that's a hard one to sort of gauge out because it didn't really happen. But so
Mhm.
you're saying that everybody at the table thought you angled her over 150?
Exactly. Yeah, yeah. So the title of my email was, "Did I get angle shot or did I angle shoot?" Because it seemed after the ruling, everybody thought that I was the one screwing her over, and it felt to me like I was the one who was attempted to get screwed over on.
Well, I mean, I'll just wrap it up with this. Like, I don't think that just because she has 150 left and you said pot, that's all of a sudden that it's assumed all in. Oh, she had 900. Of course, she just went all in. I don't think it's as clear cut as that. So I would have taken your side if you're accurately sort of, conveying this story. Did anybody take your side?
No, I mean, there was a couple guys with headphones on who didn't say anything, but the two verbal people as well as the villain were, it tilted me to the point where I just picked up my chips and left because it was just insane.
Yeah, that's a weird one. But yeah, you got to protect yourself at all times. And again, I don't remember if it was Lyman that said this before too, but we always talk about the whole strategy. I've done multiple videos about running it more than once. There isn't, it's not going to change the overall EV, right, of the hand. But there are a couple other sort of live intangible considerations to come into play. I talk about, well, will it tilt your opponent, blah, blah, blah. But the other one that this brings up is that when you're playing for big money and you're playing against total unknowns, this is a really clear cut example of this. Like you're in Kings, you're not going to know anybody. You actually might want to just not run it more than once because of issues like this. To a more extreme, what if somebody wins the pot and said, like, I've seen this happen once at Commerce, like 15 years ago. Someone wins the pot and says, no, I didn't agree to run it twice. And they just take the pot. You know what I'm saying? Something like that. And they walk off. So sometimes when you're in these situations playing against unknowns, that's another way to protect yourself is to not run it more than once just because of these shenanigans
Yeah,
that can go
you
on.
know, I play PLO in a very juicy room locally that's filled with a lot of people who don't necessarily speak English, and there's a lot of collusion attempts, and I always only ever run it once.
Yeah. All right, man. Thanks for the call. I appreciate
All
it.
right, appreciate it, Bart.
All right, cool. Thank you very much, Nick. I just want to read a couple of comments here. Again, I mean, I'm open to consideration. There was one guy here in the live chat, Josh Shepard, said, I think you angled her, to be honest, talking about the caller. I don't, maybe I'm missing something, but it seems very, very clear cut to me. I don't see how the caller can owe that extra 150 with sort of accepted all in action. And again, I go back to, I've got this like database of different anecdotal stories. I remember a situation way back when, Live at the Bike, 2005, 2006, when running it more than once first came out. Corporation Mike, for any of you old school guys, I remember a situation, it might have been in 2005, where Mike and this other guy agreed to run the pot they agreed to run the pot twice. They obviously sort of got it all in, but it was really before the all in chip. So what ended up happening was like Mike had maybe 10,000 behind. He shoved in like 8,000, but he had chips behind. And there was, I think Mike probably thought that the other guy went all in, but the other guy put all his chips in. And then there was a discussion about how many times they wanted to run it, and they agreed to run it twice, and Mike won both times. And then the other guy wouldn't pay the extra 2,000 behind that he had because they didn't say all in or they didn't put all the money in the pot. And that was a clear-cut example of where that other guy was free rolling Mike, because if he had won, he would have taken all the money. But I think that's a little bit of a different situation than this particular situation, because that was accepted as if everyone was all in that spot, and it was very clear that there were chips behind. So some of these things can be very, very nuanced.